let's talk about something every manager and employee runs into eventually: discipline and grievances. Now, if you get this stuff wrong, you can land in some serious legal hot water. But if you get it right, you can build a much stronger, more productive team. So today, we're going to break down one of the trickiest parts of management.
Okay, picture this. Your top performer, the one you can always count on, is suddenly dropping the ball. Deadlines are flying by, their work is getting sloppy. So, what's really going on? How you answer that is absolutely critical. Make the wrong call here, and you could be heading for a world of trouble.
And it all boils down to this one single question: can't do or won't do? Is the employee unable to do the work, or are they unwilling? Answering this question honestly and fairly is what sets you on one of two very, very different paths. So think of this table as your roadmap for the whole situation. On one side, you have won't do. That's misconduct. It's usually deliberate, a choice. On the other side, you've got can't do. That's poor performance, which is typically unintentional. They are completely different problems, so you guessed it, they need completely different solutions.
All right, let's dive into that first path, the won't do problem. This takes us down the disciplinary route, and this is a formal process where fairness is absolutely non-negotiable.
So what are we actually talking about when we say misconduct? Well, it's pretty simple. It's when an employee is deliberately breaking the rules. We're not talking about honest mistakes here. This is about knowing the policies and choosing to ignore them or defy management.
Now, to handle this the right way, there's a really clear 4-step process, which is guided by the ACUS Code of Practice. You have to investigate the facts, then hold a formal hearing, decide on a fair outcome, and, this part is so important, give them a chance to appeal. This whole structure is there to make sure everyone gets a fair shake.
Okay, that investigation stage, its only job is to find out what happened. That's it. It is not about deciding who's guilty. You're just gathering the facts, maybe holding a meeting to get more info. And a really important point here: if you have to suspend someone while you investigate, it has to be on full pay, and it needs to be as short as possible. Suspension is not a punishment in itself.
And when it comes to a formal hearing, the employee has fundamental rights. They have to be told in writing exactly what they're being accused of. They need enough time to prepare their side of things. And of course, they have to be able to actually present their case. Plus, they have a legal right to bring someone with them, like a colleague or a union rep.
So after you've gone through a fair hearing, what happens next? Well, the outcomes can really vary. You might find that no formal action is needed at all, or it could lead to a first written warning, then maybe a final one. And of course, for the really serious stuff, it could end in dismissal or some other kind of sanction. And then you have gross misconduct. This is the big one. We're talking about things like theft or physical violence. Stuff so serious that you might be able to dismiss someone for a first offense. But, and this is a huge but, you still have to follow a fair process. You can't just skip the steps, even for this.
Okay, so that was the won't do path, but what about the can't do problems? Well, that takes us down a completely different road, the capability path. And the whole mindset here shifts from punishment to support and improvement.
Poor performance is just what it sounds like. Someone isn't meeting the standards of their job. Maybe they're making a lot of errors, or they just can't hit their targets. The key difference from misconduct is that this is usually unintentional. It's a problem with their ability, not their attitude. And the process here really reflects that supportive goal. First, you pinpoint the issue using real, objective data. Then you work with them to create a performance improvement plan. You have regular reviews and check-ins, and only if things still aren't getting better do you start to consider other options. The goal always is to give that person a real shot at succeeding.
So that performance improvement plan, or PIP, it's so important that it's seen as a helping hand, not a threat. It needs to have super clear, measurable goals. It needs a realistic time frame, say 4 to 8 weeks, and it absolutely must include an offer of support, like extra training or coaching. It's all about giving someone the tools and the clarity to improve.
This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The disciplinary path is focused on the past, correcting behavior, usually with warnings. The capability path is focused on the future, improving performance with support and training. Two totally different problems, two totally different toolkits. So why are we spending all this time on the details? Why does all this matter so much? Because getting this wrong has massive consequences. We're not just talking legal trouble, we're talking about the trust and the entire culture of your organization.
Now, in the UK, the framework for all of this comes from ACAS. Their code of practice isn't just a bunch of good ideas. It sets out the clear, established principles for how you handle these situations fairly and reasonably. It's the gold standard.
And if you need a reason to take that code seriously, here it is. This number is a big deal. Employment tribunals are legally required to look at the ACAS code. If an employer unreasonably fails to follow it, they can increase any compensation payout by up to 25%, and that cuts both ways. It can also be reduced if an employee is the one being unreasonable. So what does fairness actually look like in practice? Well, these are the golden rules. You deal with issues promptly, and you act consistently for everyone. You do a proper investigation to get the facts. You tell people what the problem is, and you give them a chance to respond. And you let them bring someone with them to meetings and appeal any decision. These principles apply across the board.
And let's just linger on that right to appeal for a second. Never ever forget this. It is a critical safety net. It gives an employee a chance to have a decision looked at again by someone impartial. It's a fundamental part of making sure the whole system is just.
You know, this quote from Nathan Andrews at Fretton Solicitors just nails it. It really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. Understanding that one core difference between can't do and won't do is the absolute key to managing people fairly, protecting your organization legally, and honestly, just building a better place to work.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look at the procedures in your own workplace, what is their true purpose? Are they designed simply to punish people, or are they built to support and improve them? The answer to that changes everything.